Hey Josh, let's take a look at your week 6 final project here. Uh, a big change from the last version that we saw. I think definitely the point of view and the way that the elements are arranged. Things are, to me, coming across as much more convincing as an environmental space. When you're in an environment, in an interior, and you have a lot of furniture, which you have a lot of in this room, there tends to be a lot of overlapping occurring and obscuring of certain things. You definitely don't get to see as much of the ground plane, I think, than what usually you end up getting to see in an imaginary kind of interior rendering. So this, to me, feels a lot more convincing as an interior, just from kind of the point of view and the way that the elements are arranged, and spatially how things kind of work together. I like that. I like a lot of the texture work that's being done, which it feels almost universally very kind of well attended to, especially the wood. It seems like there's a lot of detail going into the wood. I think some of them are successful. The wood floor, I think, is working out well. I think some maybe not as much. I think the couch, if that is kind of a texture that's being applied, is coming across more as slightly as an uneven coverage of colored pencil more than it is as a texture itself. Although I think the cross hatching is a nice idea. I think it needs to be a little bit of a finer hatch rather than what we have in place. But that's the nature of things. Some things will work, and some things don't work as effectively. I'm not saying it's a complete loss, but I don't think it works as effectively as some of the other textures in the room. I think that the lighting situation is both very interesting and also very confusing. I think it's interesting and effective within the game section, I guess. The couch and the recliner and the bookshelf and the TV stand and the window all integrate well. I think the lighting and how it's kind of being affected by the window is very effective. I'm not exactly sure with the pool table, though. I don't know. For instance, it seems very inconsistent. The leg down below, it's lit on this side, but it's shadowed on this side, which makes sense, but it seems like it's shadowed on this side, but lighter on the top plane. So you have kind of two sides of the pool table that are facing the same direction, but one is dark and one is lighter. Then you have kind of this whiter part, which I'm assuming is a light that's coming from a different part of the room, that's coming in very abruptly and is ending very abruptly, and it's very counter to the lighting that would be occurring here. Unless this is the shadow from the couch, in which case I just don't think the couch is high enough for that to actually occur. So there's a lot for me, the lighting situation when it comes to the back part of the room. I'm not, it really starts to feel kind of confusing to me. It'd be nice to get just a little more depth on the pool table too, on the kind of the inside, where the edges are of the pool table. There is a certain amount, at least an 1.5 to 2 inches worth of depth where the balls will kind of bumper around on, that I think could be added just in terms of a little bit of extra detail. But that, I think that for me was where the kind of the qualms end. I really like the lighting situation within the game part as it hits the floor from the window. I think it's terrific the way that the shadows are all very convincing in the same direction, and they show a little bit of the underground plane beneath them. The proportions of all the elements and the perspective of all the elements, I think are working out really, really well. Good amount of detail, good amount of variety, good amount of color as well. Coverage, there are some areas like the couch, I think could be, it could be a little bit more even. It could be a little more even behind the TV, although I do appreciate the transition from the darker to the lighter on the wall, which I know is very difficult to do. But it could be a little more even as well. You can see how it's a little bit lighter as it gets towards the edge of the top of the television. But, you have a lot of textural variation, a lot of color variation. You've got shading, you've got lighting. So it feels pretty comprehensive to me, and I would say overall it feels pretty good as well.